Okay, so I will be showing you how to create a virtual machine on Azure. So just to recap what this is, remember I said you could have your own laptop, right? And it may not be that powerful. Sometimes you might want more compute power. You could connect to a virtual machine using Azure, right? So this is basically a computer which you spin up on Azure. It could be Windows, it could be Linux, or a host of different images available. And you can basically set it up in a matter of minutes, and you can configure the speed, the amount of storage, etc. And then you can just connect to it. Now, assuming that we're just having low restrictions, you can connect to it using the RDP port, so the Remote Desktop Protocol port. And this is the steps we're going to go through. Just before we go into that, this is referred to as a resource. So you create a virtual machine, and alongside the virtual machine, other resources are also created with that. So you have the network interface card, you have the public IP address, you have the network security groups. Don't worry, we don't need to know all of this, but when we go into the demo, I will be also highlighting and reminding you of this. Right, so these resources will all be grouped together when we create it in a resource group. So you have resources, right? So you have your virtual machine, you have your IP address, etc. So these all get grouped into a resource group, and this resource group basically is a logical grouping of resources. It's as simple as that. And it doesn't really hold that much weight, you can think of it, like, because you can have different resource groups, and the resources, they're not limited to be only able to talk to resources in their own resource group. They can still communicate. There are things where, because it's a grouping, you can take advantage of, for example, locks, and we'll cover that later. And yeah, so you can also apply tags to resource groups, and it's sort of this hierarchy that you have. But aside from that, that's the basic concept. So I would just want to put out there before we start going on to Azure, when I start talking about the different resources and when we create a resource group. So just a heads up.